Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. This must be a little bit of a weird video to come across if you've been watching me for a while or if you just know who I am. If you're new, I don't usually do videos like this. I'm doing a single product review. This isn't a sponsor, they didn't send me this. I bought this with my own money. I just don't usually sit down with something and do a 20-minute review of me just gawping and just raving about a delicious product. But this is what my channel's always been about. It's always just telling you what I love at the moment, telling you about what I'm into at the moment, you watching my life progress and me get into things that I enjoy and find myself as a person. And the beauty of YouTube is documenting your buzz and documenting your thrills in life and what makes you tick. And doesn't that sound exciting to see Ellie get really pumped about something so... just realised how dodgy that looked. For a long time now though, I have been really interested in doing a lot more spiritual based videos, so I thought this would be a good way to start and way to dip into that. I got a new tarot deck. Ooh. These are the cards and this is the little pouch that I usually use. This is literally the most traditional tarot deck you can get. It's the Rider-Waite deck. My baby, this is like my starter, and one day I want to make a video on starting into tarot, beginning tarot and all that stuff, because I think there's so much importance with beginning tarot using this exact design, which is like what most people use anyway. It's the most like traditional well-used deck you can possibly get, and I want to make a video about that and the importance in that. But because of my love for the traditional artwork and the Rider-Waite deck, it took me so long to progress into a new tarot deck. Tarot decks are usually quite expensive as well because there are so many qualities to a tarot deck that's important, and I will go over some of them in this video, which obviously led me to the decision of choosing this one, which is the Modern Witch Tarot deck by Lisa Stell. There's so much about this deck that I need to cover because it is so perfect. It's everything I wanted, everything I dreamt of. Plus, it is so key and important with tarot to connect with the deck that you've come across and that you found, you resonate with, and you just feel pulled into, because otherwise every time you do a reading for someone, you're just not going to feel in it. You're going to feel half like interested, and it's just, you're not going to understand and read the cards well. Like, you really want to resonate with the cards on like a whole level. Like, you want to feel as though they're talking to you, which sounds a little bit nutty. My method was always Instagram. I follow loads of tarot communities, I follow tons of witches, and I was just always on the lookout for something that felt right. I'd pop in the odd shops every now and again, like the odd witchy shops or some like witchy websites that have tarot decks on, or I'd go on Amazon. But for me it was better, like I got kind of more options on Instagram because it was just all there, all on one page, and I could just swipe and there'll just be loads, and I'll just keep on swiping. I finally came across this girl called Lisa Stell, and she was sharing a few artworks, and straight away I was like, I resonate with this. I resonated with the colours. I'm a very contrast saturated kind of gal. It probably gets a lot of your tits because I always saturate my Instagram photos up really freaking high, and even my videos, so it probably like blinds most of you, and I'm sorry, but I just really love things like that. I don't know, I love colour, I love vibrancy. Surprise, surprise. So she's taken, which is exactly what I wanted. I wanted the traditional tarot deck revamped, and now a lot of designs I was finding were not that. I love it actually. I really like seeing different artists' concepts and what they think of each card. I'll be scrolling through different tarot designs, like artworks, for ages, and my boyfriend's like, what are you doing? You've been doing that for so long. But it's not me buying. Sometimes I just love looking at different people's perspective of different cards. It's so nice. Learning tarot is like a language, so I found it very therapeutic to look at different cards and see what different artists think of that card through what they've drawn. And I'll pick up things about the card that I never even thought of before because someone drew it in a certain way. I'm like, oh my god, she's taken that aspect, that's amazing. But because I wouldn't say I'm like professional yet, I still feel like I've got a lot to learn, and I think I always will. You learn as you grow up with tarot, because when you grow up you go through life lessons and you learn things as a human being and as an individual, and those stories and those things you learn, you put it into the tarot reading. So I still wanted to keep my like learner deck and take that up a notch and take that a step further to a place that resonates with me more, and also just to keep it fun. I've been learning with these ones for ages now. Psst, if you want a reading, my email's in the video description. I feel like with traditional, it also comes with the word dramatic. So a lot of the cards look so dramatic in comparison to what they actually mean. Like the Hermit, he looks like he's literally about to jump off a freaking cliff. But if a newbie sees that and you're reading for a newbie, they literally lose their mind and they're just like, oh my god, I'm gonna die. The traditional deck always for me seems so tragic, and it can literally be the most scariest looking card, and I'm just like, oh, you're probably just gonna be disappointed by your dinner tonight. And then the person I'm reading's like, that literally looks like she wants to kill herself, and I'm like, that's the traditional deck for you. The main key word for her deck is relevant, current. You know, someone will be holding a globe in the traditional deck and they'll be holding it like this in the card, and then you have to like explain, you know, that means worldly, being worldly, and also like connections around the world and stuff like that. And she's taken that concept and just changed the person holding a phone. That makes so much more sense. A mobile phone, connections, blah blah blah. There's little symbol things. I just wanted to stress this is probably the deck for you when you don't want major changes, but little kind of adaptations here and there. She was actually still getting crowdfunding for it, and my boyfriend surprised me by pledging on the crowd fund on our anniversary, and I had to wait about 4 months for this to arrive because she had to make it, and I was just so pumped because all I saw was the images she was posting on Instagram, and I was just a patient little bean. And then all of a sudden Adam was like in the bath with me and he was like, surprise, I ordered this, and he showed me the receipt, and I was like, so it actually came on Halloween night, and that is perfect. This deck is very like elderly, and I feel like she tells me off a lot. This one I'm already getting vibes. The fact it came on Halloween, it's a little more witchy. So I didn't get the limited edition where it comes in like this golden tin. Thank you, air freshener. I will leave a link to this down there in the video description for quite a good price, if I'm honest with you. So yes, this is the little baggie it came with. I only have one of these at the moment. I have one that has velvet in the middle in the actual bag. This doesn't have velvet in it, and I'm not saying it should or anything, but it's because I'm used to it, I suppose. And it's a little drawstring, so you put the cards in and you do that. It's this lovely embroidered golden writing of the Modern Witch logo. It's an M this way and a W. Like, it's basically from both sides. It's readable. So if I didn't have this, I can totally see me putting the old deck into the box and never using it ever again. So I'm glad they both have their own little bags because I love them both individually for different reasons. It also came with a little postcard, which is cute, and I don't know whether the postcards they sent out was randomized. If it was, I found it quite funny because not only did this turn up at my door on Halloween, but it was a death card. The card I got was a death one. The death card just means new beginnings and going out with the old and coming in with the new, fitting for not only the day of the year it was, but the fact that I had a new deck coming, a new deck arriving, and I felt like I was kind of turning a new chapter of my tarot life. And I will be framing this and putting it somewhere cute for sure. And that is, if you're interested in this artwork, that's by the Cosmic Slumber Tarot. And it also came with a little catalogue, which is handy as well. So it's just a little book of loads of different decks that you might be interested in. The first deck is the one that, this is the main feature of the catalogue, so it's the one that I've got. It's got some examples of what's in it. There's a deck called 365 Gentle Reminders. It's an affirmations deck. It says stuff like, take care of yourself, and yesterday does not define you, and it's okay to be proud of yourself. There's a really cool guidebook for vegans. It's like helping you become a vegan and transition, and it just gives you like helpful hints and stuff, which is really cool. It's all illustration based. There's even a cool deck in here called Do Yoga Anywhere, and it's got loads of cards on it. It's got people doing different positions and stuff. There's just a whole lot in here, which obviously will resonate with the people who have bought the deck, so it's a good idea. I love that. I didn't want to do a video straight away when I got this. I had a few days kind of feeling it, touching it, looking at all the pictures properly, and then I even did some readings. I read Adam's cards first because I wanted to see what it felt like in practice rather than just saying it looks great. Like, I want to give a good thorough review and tell you like my collective thoughts, and not just dive in and just assume it's going to be great because it looks fab. I'm obsessed with doing this. That's one critical thing I might say, actually. I don't like how it goes upwards when you open it, because the amount of times I've picked this up off the shelf and it's done that and the cards have nearly fallen out on its arse. Is that a first world problem? Probably. This is the front. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. And on the side here, it's got another black lady here, and she's the Temperance. She also kind of keeps with the same colour scheme still with the traditional again, but she amps them up a lot. the back, she's got some examples here. This is such a fashion-based deck. The Hermit card is on the side here, which is so good. She's got this kind of dramatic looking cape on, which is very hermity, but she's closing a laptop here on her desk, which I think speaks so much more than what we would what a new reader would see on the traditional, where it's very like holding up a fire lantern, which also I just want to say makes this deck really good for beginners and advanced readers, because the advanced readers will take more parts from the card that they didn't before, or they have a different side of each card when they read from this deck. I also really love the font that she uses throughout this entire deck. It's very cutesy, it's very kind of stripped back, like it's very sort of like sketchbooky. Oh, receiving this was like receiving a baby. Oh goodness, this is the sort of stuff you pay for when it comes to decks. Take a look at the detail that's gone into this. Like the inside has moons, cups, it has crystals, I think, lots of fun magical things in there, some pentacles as well, and that's also in this box as well. Little attention to detail is exactly what I enjoy. And funnily enough, on top of here it did have a little like cardboard casing, which was like a flap, and it was supposed to kind of protect the cards and keep them in place. I ripped it out thinking you weren't supposed to keep it. I've seen a few people have kept it on there for safety. I ripped it out and actually ripped a part of the box from the inside off, like the bit of paper. I super glued it back down and it's perfectly fine. It hasn't come up again since, so I think I should be okay, but that's a little bit of a warning. I'm gonna lift you up a sec so you can properly get a little look in there. Oh my god, it's absolutely stunning. So straight away you can see that this comes with a little book here, and that's really handy because it's nice to kind of get a little look into the artist's reasons behind why they drew. You know, she doesn't really go into huge detail about why she drew each individual card in the way she did, because that would be a very big and thick book. Maybe she might do something like that on Instagram. And on the inside she actually, there's a little oh look at that lovely print again. On the first few pages there is a foreword, I believe, by somebody called Vita Ayala. Oh gosh. She basically speaks a little bit about Lisa herself, and then Lisa writes a little bit in here herself, which I do want to mention now because I think it's such a beautiful little piece she's written there. Before going into all of the card definitions, she has just like a tiny little sentence for each one. So this will be like 3 of Pentacles, 4 of Pentacles, 5 of Pentacles, for example. So just a little bit of text for each one. For any beginners though, which I think is cool, she done a little bit here about spreads and a little introduction to reading the cards and methods and stuff that might help someone who doesn't really know what they're doing. And a little book like this that comes with a deck is exactly how I learned how to read, exactly how I learned my very first few spreads. So that's really cool. This might teach somebody for the first time. So she's given some examples of spreads, probably her favorite examples I'm assuming, and she finishes off with this card here and explains how the card in the deck is called Everything is Fine. That's what it's titled as, but it is actually supposed to be the Ten of Swords. She explains in the beginning of the book, which is what I was just saying about a minute ago, that she talks about, which I felt was really nice and wanted to mention, how she actually got into making this tarot deck. So this very card here, the Everything is Fine card, she explains that it was actually something she drew during a really dark and hard time in her life. She was really struggling with something and she decided to illustrate, to draw as you would, to creatively let it all out, the Ten of Swords. So she was obviously into tarot before this. She said at this point in her life she really resonated with the Ten of Swords. She said she could feel it in her bones, so she drew her little rendition of the Ten of Swords, and she had posted that image onto Instagram, and it literally blew up, and it sparked this big creation for her, this big mind-blowing, probably life-changing moment for her when she went from her dead-end illustration job to something where she's working for herself. She's a powerful woman. Like, I read the story, the mini story she put in the beginning of this book, and it sent shivers through my spine. It like gave me goosebumps because I was like, how wonderful is it that she's created something incredible from something that was so dark and so sad. This is a female empowered deck. It's only women in this deck. There are still masculine cards, and I will say at the very top, speaking of, there is a little affirmation card here. It's like a little extra card, and it says on it, "You are a badass being, full of life, love and possibilities. Through this deck, may you find a path to your best self." that's really nice to kind of what I've been doing is always putting that at the top of the deck. So when I take the deck out to read, to remind myself like I can do this, I got this, it puts me in a good frame of mind for the reading. As I said earlier, I didn't get the limited edition ones, so the sides are not golden, unfortunately. Used cards do tend to get a little bit filthy, but you know, the whole point of tarot cards is to get to break into them. They need to feel loved, they need to be loved, like you need to understand them and like get to grips with them and proper like feel their energy and like bash them around so they have your energy in them. And these ones are very, very loved. Someone else who I believe isn't alive anymore used to own these. I don't know who the original owner of these were. I think my mum got given them by a witch or something. If you compare the colour with these very, very white ones here, you can definitely see which ones have been more used. These are so much thicker. They are, so if you, this is what I'm used to. It's a very flimsy card, but it's also like not too flimsy. Like I feel like this is a really good thickness, because if you take a look at these are very thick. So like any thicker than this and I wouldn't like it. I think this is just at a good rate, although it does make it very hard to hold and shuffle. So with these, I would recommend that you cut them in half and then shuffle with one half first, which isn't too bad at all actually. Doing that, they feel really, really nice. And then join them together like that. Yes, they are laminated. They have a lovely glossy finish and they are laminated, which is perfect. It makes them really nice to glide and to like spread out and to sieve through and to flick through, and to like the way they kind of move on top of each other is really, really good. So when it's upside down, it is pretty much the same as the other way, because the M and the W here, Modern Witch, works out in a cool way that when it's reversed, if you use reversals that is, it's still Modern Witch. Although I did mention to Adam, I have noticed here that this is the right way up, and I would know that because the handle here is on my left, and then when it's reversed, it's on my right. That's the only thing I've noticed that's different from when it's reversed, which sounds like a nitpick, sure, but if you work in reversals, I think it would be nicer to not know if it's reversed. Like, it's nicer to have no clue, obviously, what the card is underneath, and not that you're gonna go looking for making sure you're not picking something that's in reverse. Who would do that? I don't know. Something also quite cool I've noticed is in the corners of these cards, it seems like she's holding a phone, and the phone's going into a cable, a wire there, which is sort of transforming into some like vines or something. I love how it's combining elements, which once again is all about tarot. So it's like electronic stuff, it's knowledge, it's connections, and that's going into nature and elements, which is more so on the less physical side of tarot. So let me show you how I shuffle with this big ass deck. It is doable, it is fine, it takes some getting used to. Shuffling with tarot cards in general takes time getting used to, if I'm honest. And it's funny because I've spent so much time with tarot cards. When I pick up a pack of playing cards, I think someone's pranking me and giving me a pack of miniature playing cards, because I'm so shocked with how small playing cards look to me now. I've held a pack of tarot cards. Yeah, with cards like those, you're probably not gonna want to do this, which I feel like a lot of people use as their shuffling method. Even the borders are the same width, so they are almost immaculate. Like I said, I didn't want anything too far from what I've been learning with. These cards are the ones that I really like, or the ones that I have something to say about. So I'm going to be talking and showing those ones first, and then when I move on to the rest, just in case you guys want to see all of them, I'll put them to like the side of this video, and I can just flick through while I'm talking on the other side of the video and wrapping up this video. The fall feels pretty fitting to start off with, not only because it is card number 0, but because it's probably literally one of my favorite cards in the entire deck. I love how well this has shown everything that the Fool card makes me feel. If I'm going to be honest, I believe this card is probably the best suited illustration for this particular definition, because the Fool is all about being carefree. It's just about someone who doesn't really care about like consequences or what's going to happen. They're just very easygoing, and they've got a very free spirit kind of nature. They're very hippie like, which is obviously what she's illustrated here so well. I love everything about that. Like, I read this so much easier than the traditional full card because she just looks carefree. She's got blue hair, she doesn't care, she's wearing the typical kind of clothes you might expect to see on someone who has that sort of lifestyle too, which I think is really cute. This one I wanted to mention was interesting in a very subtle way, because I looked at this first and I was like, oh, it's really interesting how she's chosen such like glamorous clothes for this kind of card. This kind of card is about dedication and fight and standing up for yourself, and so I'm thinking, wow, she's chosen someone in high heels and a tiny mini skirt. But then I thought back to the original tarot card. One of my favorite things about him in the traditional is the fact he has odd shoes on, because that's supposed to resemble being up for a fight unexpectedly, or kind of getting up when you have to suddenly stand up for yourself and you suddenly have to fight out of the blue, out of nowhere. He didn't have time to put on a correct pair of shoes. Like, he clearly just like had to act quick and had to act fast. He didn't have time to think about it. He just had to stand up for himself very quickly and fight for his ground for whatever reason that is. And I feel like that's captured in her card too, but in a different level. She doesn't have odd shoes on, but she definitely doesn't look like she's dressed for a fight. And I really love that about this card. There's something really nice about that. Something I like, oh, look how like gorgeous the colours are, and it's such like, it sounds weird, but the artwork kind of looks spongy, like cuddly, like, I don't know, like curvy around the edges. I don't know what I'm saying. One of the girls is standing on water and everyone's standing on sand, because there is an element to this card that means two people coming from different backgrounds or different interests, like two different sides of the story, and they come together through their friendship and their bonding, and they work together in a good way. Like, they have so much in common, but they come from different aspects or different sides to a story, and they combine with each other really well, and that's a big part of the Two of Cups. And I like how that's possibly illustrated through that, to show maybe she's a water sign and maybe she's an air sign, or the water can be representing emotions between the two of them, because emotions are high, their bonding is high, and that's not illustrated in the traditional here. They are both very clearly standing on land, so that's a cool element, which I'd like to know if any of you guys have any thoughts on that. I really love the Queen of Cups. I relate to the Queen of Cups a lot. That is a card that tends to come up for me when I am asking questions from tarot, usually in a state of like emotions. If I'm sad and if I'm angry, I get the deck out and I'm like, what should I do? And this usually is the card that presents itself, because it basically says, stop being such an emotional brat, chill the hell out. And she's made it mermaid-esque. So this card is obviously very about water anyway. It's the Queen of Cups, Queen of Emotions, wateryness. And so she's basically made a mermaid on a shell freaking throne. I think that's so nice. I relate to this card so much. How gorgeous is that? I love the way she's done that. I also wanted to mention, ooh, we've got a reversal now. The Hierophant, I love. She's kept it very similar. However, she's ditched the B and the J on the side pillars, which I always used to have a little joke about with people I was reading. But she's got a laptop now on her lap to resemble the scroll that is in the traditional, and the scroll is supposed to represent the knowledge that she holds, all the secrets that she has she has hold of. But Lisa has exchanged all of that kind of traditional stuff like scrolls with technology and phones and laptops and stuff. This one's really cool because I see the Four of Cups just like this one. A lot of people see the Four of Cups as a good thing. It's like an opportunity is being handed to you. You just have to see it. But I always see the Four of Cups as someone who knows opportunities there. They're just kind of like, they don't want to take it because they're just like fed up. She has over it on her jumper there, and I think that's the sort of thing people would wear like for fashion, but that describes the Four of Cups so well. I just love the like moodiness and the miserableness of this card. This one I wanted to mention simply, it's the Six of Wands, because I like how she has an earring here. This deck obviously does a lot of fashion nods. But she has a V for victory on her earring, which I think is so cool. This card's all about success and victory. So I like how that's a little like cute thing there. It can trigger you if you're trying to learn tarot. That's a really good kind of trigger. And this one was really cool because I like how she has tattoos. This is the Hierophant, so she's supposed to be a teacher and she's knowledgeable and she's a leader, and it's nice to see a leader who's also a teacher and knowledgeable with tattoos, because I feel like, you know, there's a stupid stigma around tattoos, like not being for people who are intelligent and all that bollocks, but I think that's really cool. This one's really nice because it is about finance and having a good healthy attitude with like what you're buying and your income and your purchases and stuff, but she's done this in a cool way where it's like gift giving, so she's giving her gifts to her friends, and her friends, I can almost hear this picture when I see it. It's like, oh my god, me, like where's mine? So this can make you think like of greed, and it can make you think of buying things excessively, but it also easily reminds you of being giving and charity and helping others, giving to others. So I like how she's really carefully kept both sides of this card in with this image, because I do tend to forget the unhealthy attitudes with the traditional illustration of the Six of Pentacles. I always just usually see it about giving all the time. Out of every single card, I think she has gone the most different with this one. There is so much about this that is like, there's nothing similar. It's even completely dark. It's probably because it's such an old-fashioned looking card. Nothing about this card is very modern. Like the people in it, they aren't dressed modern. They probably don't have jobs and roles that are very modern for this day and age. And even the building they're in is looking pretty old. So this one takes the same elements of having three people working together on a project, which is this one. They're both of these cards are doing that without a doubt, but they're all bringing something different to the table. So that you can't really see that from this card, in my opinion. Like you don't know they're all bringing something different to the table. You don't know that teamwork is about having different sides of the story, whereas this one you definitely can see that. Like there's a teacher, she's instructing, she's helping, this person's doing the drawing, and this is the model. Like they all come from very different parts of this project, and they're working together in a collaborative way to build on something together. So it's basically exactly the same as this card, obviously, but in a really clever way. I had to think about this for a little while. I was like, why has she done this? Like I was intrigued, because I always see this one as property and building, and Adam even himself said he's not into tarot at all, and he said this reminds him of house viewing. Like this looks like someone who's showing these two a house, and I think that was really cool to take from like someone who hasn't read a single book on tarot. Like that was pretty cool. So this one really takes a step back from property and looks more on collaborative work and coming from a creative side when it comes to projects, as well as like a physical side, because this for me was a physical card, but this kind of makes it a little bit more creative by the fact that she's drawing. There is a little element here of creativity, a little element here of teaching, instructing, and this is obviously more of like a physical side. So there's speaking, there's physical, this is really interesting. I really love this one's really grown on me. At first I was very confused by it. Seven of Cups I simply love because of her little witchy hat, and the fashion in this is really cool. She's kind of kept to the silhouette, which is nice because the focus isn't on the person who's looking at the cups, it's the actual cups we're supposed to be looking at here. By the way, I love how she's made the cups pink. Love pink. Pink's my favorite color. Yeah. This one was interesting. I thought this would be more concentrated on meditation, if I'm honest. I thought, because the Four of Swords is all about taking rest, taking a break, meditating, taking a step back, but this one she just kind of looks, she doesn't really look like she's taking a nap or something. She looks like she's like anxieties and keeping up at night. For me, even though it is daytime I suppose there, for me, I feel like I thought Elise was going to do something a little bit more about like yoga or meditation. Would have been cool for that, or like having a spa day or something like that, which kind of kept to the same like design, of course, but I thought she would imply some different things in with that one, but whatever. I chose this one as one of my favorites because it's obviously where the story began, and I also just really love how she's on her phone still, to kind of show that she's not really thinking, or like she's trying to distract herself from what's going on right now. And I think that's a really good way to see this card, because in the traditional one it's very you get a totally different feel. To this one you assume he's basically dead and like there's no way out, and like he just looks basically gone for. This one's kind of saying you're going through so much shit, you can get through this, you can do it, you have to face your problems, get through them all, don't pretend they're not there, don't disregard them. I also really love how the phone can also represent people in our world, people externally, our friends and family, and even social media, and how toxic that can be. She might be comparing herself to other people, like she's got a lot of pain she's going through, but she's looking through everyone else's lives who look great. Like I like there's different elements to this that you don't see in the traditional. Same with this one really. It's social media again, and the Hermit is about taking a step back and spending time with yourself and doing some self-improvement, working on yourself and not external stuff. So I don't know, I think she's supposed to be closing this laptop personally, so I feel like she's kind of taken a step away from the outside world to focus on herself in her room on her own. It's a lot more cheerful looking than the traditional. I think this one kind of says it's okay to be alone, but also because the Hermit card is about seeking knowledge and soul searching, any card to do with knowledge, she has put a laptop or a phone throne there somewhere. So that can also mean, as well as shutting off from the outside world, using the outside world as your way of accessing knowledge. So really well done, love that. This one's cool because in the traditional, this one actually took me the longest to learn. For some reason it took me a while to like remember that these wands are supposed to mean like quick action, something happening very fast, purely because they don't look like they're actually moving. They look like they're stuck in the air, and that really bothered me about this card. For some reason it always like annoyed me how they don't look like they're actually moving, whereas this one definitely does. And it's also highlighted by the motorbike at the bottom, heading for the horizon, and so much more movement in this card. I wanted to mention this one because it is a bit odd how she's really taken a step away from weddings and ceremonies. Like this one, traditional, screams weddings, and I always mention to people this is about union, coming together, celebration, family, dancing, singing. This one, they seem to have like been walking away from the outside world. They're walking away from the stress and the hustle and bustle of the city around them, and they're walking into the garden or like nature, and it's just them two together. There's no other people, which to me, the Four of Wands is all about other people coming together to celebrate like a couple or something. So I'd like to know what your guys' thoughts are on this one, because it just takes so much away from what the Four of Wands means to me, and I just thought that'd be interesting to talk about with you guys. A little bit like the Seven of Wands, which is about fighting for your right and standing up for yourself and a battle. The Nine of Wands is a lot more about being in the middle of the battle or at the end of a battle, because she is actually dressed for a battle, unlike this card here. She has all of the clothes on she was supposed to win the fight, and she's nearly there, and she's so close. Like obviously this shows someone who's actually gone through a lot recently, rather than just stood up and decided to fight for something. She's been through a little bit of a war, and she's very easier to read in my opinion. I don't really read that as easily with this one. I mean, they do have a bandage on their head, but it took me so long to connect the bandage to like being through a battle in a war for some bloody reason. I don't know. This is really cool simply because the Three of Cups is about partying and celebrating with your friends, but they are actually at a festival. They have tents behind them, and they're kind of dressed for festival as well. Like she's got some sort of like mermaid-esque look there, and they've got their boots on. So this is about partying and having fun with your friends anyway. So I loved how she kind of did that as them at a festival. I think that's really, really fitting. Oh, the pages I wanted to talk about, because I just like how she chose to do the pages as young characters, to remember that pages are supposed to be students and young. I don't really know why, it just used to slip my mind a lot. That to me doesn't look like a young person. I don't know if it's supposed to be a young person. In the traditional, he doesn't look young at all, whereas yeah, very young to me. She looks not really, she doesn't look like a child, she doesn't look like a baby, but both of these people, in comparison to the rest of the cards, they definitely look a little younger, and I like the fact she's done that. That's really cool. And look how cute the tiny little fish is coming out of the cup. My god, it's so cute. And her little baby face as well. She looks kind of scared and frightened, and she doesn't really look like she knows what she's doing. I love that. I love that about the Page of Swords, because the Page of Swords doesn't really know what they're doing, if I'm honest. Two of Wands, once again, the world that she holds in her hands in the traditional has been replaced by a mobile phone to basically mean connections again, and having the world at your fingertips, meaning she is trying to work out where to go from here, and you know, you can probably do a lot of that knowledge, a lot of that working out will come from investigating things and looking into where she wants to go, where she is now, and her to-do list. The Queen of Wands I actually wanted to mention, because I think this character, I don't know if I'm just assuming this, but to me this character looks like she has vitiligo, and I don't know whether I have that wrong. What I like about that, if that is the case, I don't think I've made an assumption here, but with the Queen of Wands, she's all about confidence, self-confidence, and she, yeah, just like sunny attitude. She's very sure about what she wants and her ideas and her thoughts and her mind. So someone who isn't afraid to show that off, and you know, that's who she is, and that's part of her identity, and she's like embracing that. She's on a throne and she's a leader, and I like that. Like, there's so much inclusiveness in this. Lovely. The Eight of Pentacles is all about working hard and being a perfectionist and just the daily grind, and I love how she's done that in a very modern way. And I believe that is supposed to be Lisa in the card, the girl who made this deck. This is probably her creating the deck on her tablet. So I really like seeing this because it reminds me of the lovely girl that made this deck, and I do a little nod to her when I see this come up in a reading, because I'm like, hi Lisa, like, love you girl, well done, you're great. Wanted to mention the Ace of Wands for those fabulous witchy black nails. I love that. In the traditional, obviously, there is nature and plants growing, but this is more of like a house plant sort of thing, which I relate to so much more. And this is really nice because she's taking a step back to look at what she's grown. She's stopped watering them just to take them in a little bit, and that's what the Seven of Pentacles is all about. It's about appreciating the fruits that you've grown and taking a break to realize how far they've come, which is nice. She does look a little bit miserable though, but then again, the Seven of Pentacles is about not being completely happy with what's going on, so you need to sort of check in with yourself what it is that's missing, or like maybe appreciate things, how far they've come a little bit more. Two of Pentacles, I just wanted to mention how I was a bit sad about the fact she doesn't look very goofy. My favourite thing about the Two of Pentacles is actually the goofiness of this card. It's someone who's maybe doing something they're not very used to, and it's supposed to be like the dance and the rhythm of life that they're doing. They're balancing a lot of things at once. So to me, I always laugh at this card in the traditional because he's dressed funny and he's dressed silly and he doesn't really know what he's doing, and it's a little bit difficult. It's a bit rocky as well, represented in the sea in the background. She doesn't have that, so I'm wondering whether this is more kind of someone who, Lisa might see this card as someone who actually has their crap together a lot more and isn't struggling and knows what they're doing a little bit more, because I feel like she knows her jam, she knows what she's up to, but he's just a bit like, whoa, which is kind of sad. I'd like to have seen a goofy card. This is lovely because I like the fact she has a bush. Sounds silly, but I like how real this is and how authentic and realistic it is. I love that. Realistic bodies, realistic people. I put this one in here because this is actually an additional card. So you have the Ten of Swords, which you would read as the same as this card, of course. I think it's up to you whether you take one out, because otherwise you'd have two of the same card in the deck and it seems a bit silly. Like, I guess it's up to you to choose which one you decide. I think this is where her journey started, so maybe she felt like it should have been included, so you kind of get that choice. So I need to, every time I do a reading, I need to remember to take one out. I don't know, maybe she couldn't decide, so she put both in. She couldn't decide whether they should be called Ten of Swords or Everything Is Fine. This one's really nice. The Chariot is about movement and going forward, so she's represented that in a motorbike rather than the very, very traditional old-fashioned, and I'm sorry I keep saying that word, it's just not my favorite, and it's literally gone from a card that isn't my favorite to a card that is definitely one of them, because look how badass she is. So she's represented as more of like a rock chick, a punk, because she's supposed to be something that the Chariot is all about, going to just go get it, going to be a little bit more hard and tough, and she looks tough. She looks like someone who's just going to go for something and just ace it, and she's cool. She screams that. And this is a bit of a morbid end, but the Three of Swords is nice because I like how the piercing through the heart is kind of like easing out all of this black gunk, and I think that's a really nice way to show how this card is so expressive. So the Three of Swords looks kind of morbid, but it is about kind of releasing pain and being expressive of that pain and showing that pain and letting that pain bleed out of you, and that's a really nice way that she's done that. So those are my faves. I'll continue over here. All of the rest of the cards if you wanted to see them in all their glory, but I think I've said everything I needed to say about this video. I could honestly go on for probably longer, but I know this video is going to be absolutely huge as it is, but I simply really enjoy everything about this. I'm really happy for her. I think she's done such a wonderful job, and I would love to know what you guys think of this deck in particular. Is this something that you would maybe buy? Are you into tarot? Does this look like a good professional deck to use? Or if you are new to tarot, does this kind of deck make you interested in getting into it for the first time? I don't know. Soon with these cards, I want to do another YouTuber tarot reading video where I kind of look into what's in the cards for some big YouTubers out there, because I thought that was kind of fun when I did that last time. I don't know if you guys enjoyed it, but I'm going to be doing another one of those again soon, so let me know in the comments who you think I should read. That'll be fun. Guys, do use the link down there to buy this deck today and support this lovely queen. Like I said, I look forward to doing more tarot reading videos with you guys very soon, or just more spiritual videos in general, because I really like making stuff like that. Thank you very much for watching. If you like videos like this, make sure you give me a thumbs up so that I know in the future. I'm also on social media such as Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and I also stream live on YouNow regularly. All the links to that will be down there in the video description. Make sure you join me on social media if you want to see kind of like behind the scenes stuff, or like live updates of me. We're talking about all of this sort of stuff that you would on my channel, but like to a more personal level, I suppose. I'm also available to chat on all those social media platforms. So yeah, all the best. Loads of love from my house to yours.